Hello there, and welcome back to Speak Power Daily. I'm Charlotte, and I am so happy you decided to hit play today. Take a second to settle in. Maybe roll your shoulders back, take a deep breath, and just be present with me. Today, we are tackling a topic that hits very close to home for many of us, especially when we are trying to navigate a second language. We're talking about social anxiety. Have you ever walked into a room full of people and suddenly felt like your brain turned into a piece of dry toast? Or maybe you've wanted to join a conversation in English, but your heart started racing like it was running a marathon while you were just standing still? If you've ever felt that frozen feeling, I want you to know something important right now. You are not alone, and you are not broken. Social anxiety is like a tiny, overprotective bodyguard living inside your head. It wants to keep you safe from embarrassment, so it whispers things like, "What if they don't understand your accent?" Or, "What if you use the wrong tense and everyone thinks you're silly?" The problem is, this bodyguard is a bit of a drama queen. It treats a small grammar mistake like it's a giant disaster. But here's the truth. Most people are so worried about their own hair or their own words that they aren't actually judging you as much as you think they are. When we learn English, social anxiety can feel twice as heavy because we feel like we've lost our armor. In our native language, we are funny, smart, and quick. In English, we might feel like a slower version of ourselves. It's like trying to run a race in heavy boots. But today, I want to help you take those boots off. We're going to talk about how to turn down the volume on that anxious inner voice and find the courage to speak up, even if your hands are a little shaky. We aren't looking for perfection. We're looking for connection. Because at the end of the day, language isn't about being a walking dictionary. It's about reaching out and touching another person's mind. Let's figure out how to do that together, one small step at a time. Let's look at one of the biggest tricks our brain plays on us. It's called the spotlight effect. Imagine you're on a stage and a giant bright light is shining only on you. You feel like everyone is watching your every move, noticing every time you blink or stumble over a word. In social situations, especially when speaking a new language, we feel exactly like that. We think our mistakes are being broadcast on a giant screen for everyone to see. But here is a funny little truth. Everyone else in the room feels like they are the ones under the spotlight. Most people are far too busy thinking about their own lives, their own insecurities, or what they're going to have for dinner to notice if you used since instead of for. When you realize that people aren't actually analyzing your English with a magnifying glass, the pressure starts to drop. You aren't the main character in everyone else's movie. You're just a fellow traveler. And that's a very good thing. It gives you the freedom to be imperfect. To help manage that nervous energy, one of my favorite tools is the script strategy. Social anxiety loves the unknown. It hates not knowing what to say. So, give it a plan. Before you go to a party, a meeting, or a meetup, prepare 3 safety sentences. These are simple, go-to phrases you can say without thinking. It could be a simple question like, "How has your week been so far?" Or a comment about the environment like, "I love the music in this place, don't you?" Having these safety sentences is like having a life jacket when you're learning to swim. You might not need it, but knowing it's there makes you feel much braver about jumping into the water. When you have a plan, your brain doesn't have to work so hard to find words while it's also trying to manage your nerves. You're giving your mind a clear path to follow. Think of it like this. If you are going to cook a new dish for friends, you'd probably look at a recipe first, right? You wouldn't just throw random things in a pot and hope for the best. Socializing in English is the same. A little bit of preparation acts as a bridge over the gap of anxiety. It allows you to move from, "Oh no, what do I do?" to, "I know how to start." And once you start, the momentum usually takes care of the rest. And as that momentum builds, something very important happens. Your confidence starts to grow quietly, almost without you noticing. Confidence is not something that appears all at once, like flipping a switch. It is built through small, repeated experiences of, "I survived this," and "that went better than I expected." Every conversation, even the awkward ones, becomes proof that you are capable. The goal is not to speak perfect English, but to stay in the conversation long enough to realize that nothing terrible happens when you make a mistake. Over time, those prepared sentences stop being a crutch and start becoming a launch pad. You begin to adapt them, change them, and eventually create new ones on the spot. What once felt like a performance starts to feel like a normal human interaction. You are no longer fighting your nerves, you are working with them. Nervous energy can even become excitement when you stop labeling it as fear. So be kind to yourself in this process. Learning to speak confidently in another language is not a test of intelligence or talent. It is a skill built through patience and exposure. You are allowed to pause, to search for words, and to sound imperfect. Each time you prepare a little, show up anyway, and speak despite the nerves, you weaken the spotlight effect just a bit more. And little by little, you step off that imaginary stage and into real connection, where learning truly happens. Have you ever noticed that when we feel anxious, we become very focused on ourselves? We think about our hands, our face, and whether our English sounds good enough. It's like looking into a mirror for an hour. Eventually, you start seeing problems that aren't even there. A wonderful way to break this cycle is to take that mirror and turn it into a window. Instead of looking at yourself, look at the other person. This is what I call the curiosity shift. When you walk into a social situation, give yourself a mission. Be the most interested person in the room, not the most interesting. When you are genuinely curious about someone else, two amazing things happen. First, your brain stops obsessing over your own grammar because you are busy listening to their story. Second, people absolutely love it. There is no better way to be liked than to be a good listener. You don't need a C2 level of English to ask, "That's so interesting, tell me more," or "How did you feel about that?" These simple questions act like a ball in a game of tennis. You are just hitting the ball back over the net. As long as the other person is talking, you have time to breathe, relax, and realize that the world hasn't ended because you're in a conversation. You are learning through listening, and that is one of the most powerful ways to grow. I once knew a student who was terrified of speaking at work events. He felt his English was broken and boring. I told him to try the curiosity shift. At the next event, he didn't try to give any long speeches. He just asked people about their hobbies and their favorite parts of their jobs. At the end of the night, his colleagues told him he was a great conversationalist. He hardly spoke. He just gave them the space to be heard. Remember, social interaction is a shared experience. It isn't a solo performance where you get a grade at the end. When you focus on making the other person feel comfortable, your own anxiety starts to fade into the background. It's hard for fear and curiosity to live in your brain at the exact same time. So, the next time you feel that nervous flutter in your stomach, ask a question. Let the other person carry the heavy lifting of the conversation for a while you find your rhythm. Let's talk about the elephant in the room: making mistakes. For someone with social anxiety, a mistake feels like a physical blow. You say, "he go," instead of "he goes," and suddenly you want to vanish into the floorboards. But I want to introduce you to a very powerful question that can change your life. It's 2 simple words. So what? If you stumble over a word, so what? If you have to repeat yourself because someone didn't catch your accent, so what? If there is a 5-second silence while you look for the right vocabulary, so what? The truth is, the disaster we imagine in our heads almost never matches reality. In the real world, a small mistake is just a tiny ripple in a vast ocean. It doesn't sink the ship. Think of learning English like learning to ride a bicycle. You cannot learn to balance without wobbling. The wobbling isn't a sign that you are a bad cyclist. It's a sign that you are currently learning. Every time you feel anxious in a social setting, it's because you are at the edge of your comfort zone. And the edge is where all the growth happens. If you never feel anxious, it means you aren't challenging yourself. So, in a strange way, that nervous feeling is actually a sign of progress. It means you're brave enough to be there. I like to use the metaphor of a language lab. When a scientist is in a lab and an experiment doesn't work, they don't cry and say, "I'm a terrible scientist." They just take a note. "Okay, that didn't work. Let's try a different temperature next time." Try to treat your social interactions like experiments. If you try to tell a joke and nobody laughs, or if you forget the word for refrigerator, just take a mental note. Okay, I need to check that word later. Then move on. The more experiments you do, the less scary they become. Anxiety thrives on avoidance. When we avoid people, the fear grows bigger and bigger, like a monster in a dark room. But when we turn on the light and keep showing up, the monster turns out to be just a pile of laundry. You are allowed to be a work in progress. You don't have to wait until your English is perfect to start enjoying your life and meeting people. Start now, mistakes and all. The world is waiting for the messy, real, and courageous version of you. And when you truly embrace that "so what" mindset, something liberating happens. Mistakes lose their emotional power over you. They stop being personal failures and become neutral events. A mispronounced word is no longer evidence that you are bad at English. It is simply information. And information is useful. It tells you exactly where you can improve, without judgment or drama. This shift in perspective also helps you recover faster in conversations. Instead of replaying the mistake in your head for the next 10 minutes, you stay present. You listen. You respond. You remain connected. Most people do not remember what you said 5 minutes ago, but they do remember how you made them feel. And feeling relaxed, open, and authentic is far more powerful than sounding grammatically perfect. Over time, you will notice that the moments you once feared become surprisingly ordinary. That pause? Nobody cared. That correction? The conversation kept going. That awkward sentence? Forgotten. Each time reality proves your fear wrong, your confidence grows a little stronger. You start to trust yourself, not because you never make mistakes, but because you know you can handle them. So keep asking yourself, "So what?" Say it with curiosity, not criticism. Let it be your mental reset button. It brings you back to the present moment, where learning actually happens. Because progress is not about avoiding discomfort, it is about realizing that you can move forward even while feeling it. And when you do, you discover something powerful. You were never broken or incapable. You were just human, learning out loud. As we wrap up our conversation today, I want you to take a moment to be really proud of yourself. Seriously. Just the fact that you are listening to a podcast about overcoming anxiety, in English no less, shows that you have a spark of courage inside you. You aren't running away from the challenge. You're looking for ways to meet it. That is the first and most important step toward freedom. Remember, overcoming social anxiety isn't about suddenly becoming the loudest person at the party or a world-class public speaker overnight. It's about those tiny, quiet victories. It's about the time you said good morning to a neighbor, even though you felt shy. It's about the time you asked a question in a meeting, despite your heart pounding in your ears. Those moments might feel small to the rest of the world, but they are huge wins for your brain. Each time you face that overprotective bodyguard in your head and say, "It's okay, I've got this," you are reclaiming your power. Think of your confidence like a garden. You don't just plant a seed and see a tree the next morning. You have to water it, give it sunlight, and be patient when it takes time to grow. Some days the weather will be great, and you'll feel like a social butterfly. Other days, you might want to hide under your blankets and avoid everyone. And that is perfectly okay. Progress isn't a straight line. It's a journey with twists and turns. I want to leave you with one final thought. The people who truly matter, the friends worth making, and the colleagues worth knowing, don't care about your perfect grammar. They care about you. They want to hear your perspective, your stories, and your unique voice. Your accent is a sign of your bravery. It's proof that you speak more than one language. Never apologize for a mistake that shows you are trying to connect. So, here is your homework for this week. Find one small social experiment. Just one. Maybe it's ordering a coffee in a slightly more detailed way, or saying one extra sentence to a coworker. Do it. Feel the flutter in your stomach, and then give yourself a high five for being brave. Thank you so much for joining me today on Speak Power Daily. You are stronger than your anxiety, and your voice deserves to be heard. I believe in you, and I can't wait to see how you grow. Until next time, keep breathing, keep smiling, and keep speaking your power.